Yeah. Your agenda. Just go by the great chart. Exactly. Follow the video.
Hello, hello, hello. Check sound test. 1, 2. Hello, hello.
Happen just during the middle of the but in the project, I mean, this license in the but better than but need a good for the doubt for what I was understanding on the same day, it is also now we have explained still the exposure of the repeating silent. How you oh, yeah. Start all the time. Would it affect me as I think it was not so boring आना है फोटो में आ जाओ ladies are always
Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. You're requested to keep the first row of the middle section vacant. First row of the middle section to be vacant. Yeah. हाँ बताओ हाँ बाहर बुके हाँ बाहर बुके में गाड़ी को बदल एयरपोर्ट से निकल पर शायद मैंने सोचा था कि मीटिंग यहाँ पे क्लोज डोर मीटिंग में बहुत अच्छा छोटी छोटी तो करता है कभी आपको रखा है कैसे बस नहीं रहेगा लोग इधर आ जाए सब
Yeah. What's every kind of look. So that was double usage. Plus interaction. Are you
A very good afternoon, everyone. It's just a gentle reminder to please keep your mobile phones on silent mode. On behalf of the Department of Biotechnology and on my personal behalf, I, Sumita, cordially welcome our chief guest, Dr. Jitendra Singh Ji, Honorable Minister of State, Independent Charge, Science and Technology, Minister of State, Prime Minister's Office, Personal Public Grievances and Pensions, Department of Atomic Energy and Department of Space, to be here with us to celebrate the achievements of Genome India initiative by announcing the landmark achievement of completion of sequencing of 1,000 genomes of Indian population, along with launch of Genome India Digest, Population Genomics for Public Health. A hearty welcome to all the dignitaries on the dais, Dr. Rajesh S. Gokhale, Secretary DBT, Dr. Shuchita Ninave, Advisor DBT, Professor Narahari, ISC Bangalore, Professor Thangaraj from CCMB Hyderabad. Keeping up with our traditions, we begin today's program with lighting of lamp and invocation of Goddess Saraswati. May I request Honorable Minister Dr. Jitendra Singh Ji, Dr. Rajesh S. Gokhale, Secretary DBT, Dr. Shuchita Ninave, Advisor DBT, Professor Narahari, ISC Bangalore, and Professor Thangaraj for lamp lighting, please.
अज्ञानता से हमें तार दे माँ, हे शारदे माँ। संगीत तुझसे हर शब्द तेरा है, हर गीत तुझसे तू चल की तेरी। संगीत तुझसे हर शब्द तेरा है, हर गीत तुझसे। हम हैं अकेले, हम हैं अधूरे, हम हैं अकेले, हम हैं अधूरे। तेरी शरण हम, हमें प्यार दे माँ, हे शारदे माँ। तू श्वेत विराजे, हाथों में वीणा मुकुट सर पे साजे। तू श्वेत पे विराजे, हाथों में वीणा मुकुट सर पे साजे। धन से हमारे मिटा दो अंधेरे, मन से हमारे मिटा दो अंधेरे। चारों संसार है माँ, हे शारदे। वेदों की भाषा पुराणों की वाणी, मुनियों ने समझी दुनियों ने जानी। वेदों की भाषा पुराणों की वाणी, हम भी तो समझे, हम भी तो जाने, हम भी तो समझे, हम भी तो जाने। विद्या का हमको वरदान दे माँ, हे शारदे माँ।
Thank you. May I request Secretary DBT to please welcome Honorable Minister Dr. Jitendra Singh Ji with a potted plant and present him with a shawl as a welcome token. May I now request Dr. Shuchita Ninave, Scientist D and Advisor DBT, to present Secretary DBT with a potted plant as a welcome token.
May I also request Dr. Suchita Ninave to present Joint National Coordinators, Professor Tangaraj and Professor Narahari with the pot plant. May I request my colleague, Dr. Sumita Kumari, to present potted plant to Dr. Suchita Ninave, Advisor DBT. May I request Dr. Suchita Ninave, Advisor DBT, to please come on the dais and deliver the welcome address. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is indeed an honor for me to extend warm welcome on behalf of TBT to the August gathering present here today. First and foremost, I express my deepest gratitude to Mananiya Mantriji and our chief guest, Dr. Jitendra Singh Ji, Minister of State, Independent Charge for Ministry of Science and Technology, and Minister of State for Prime Minister's Office, Personnel, Public Grievances and Pensions, Department of Atomic Energy, and Department of Space for his kind presence to grace today's landmark occasion. We are extremely thankful to you, sir, for taking out time from your busy schedule and encouraging us by your gracious presence. Sir, during the last 1 decade, the country has witnessed the department's contributions to promote biotechnology at unprecedented rates in various sectors of agriculture, health, animal sciences, environment, and industry. The Honorable Minister always mentions on various forums that the contributions of the department in pandemic times have been timely and significant. Creation of Apex organization, BRIC, is another example of department's commitment to the goal of maximum governance and minimum government. Sir, we assure you that under your able guidance, the department is doing every conscious effort to make India globally competitive in biotech research, innovation, translation, entrepreneurship, and industrial growth. Today's event is all the more special because the Honorable Minister is going to make a vital announcement about Genome India initiative of TBT, which forms a foundation for precision medicine, acknowledging the need for tailored interventions aligned with the unique genetic makeup of the nation. The profound, unwavering support by our Mananiya Mantriji has always been instrumental in achieving the purpose of this endeavor. We are highly grateful to you, sir, and welcome you once again. For this important event, I welcome Secretary TBT, Dr. Rajesh S. Gokhale. Sir, it's your vision and continuous guidance that help us to lead this prestigious and huge nationwide Genome India project of the Government of India through Department of Biotechnology to a meaningful conclusion. On behalf of the department, I extend warm welcome to the whole Genome India team comprising of 20 national institutes led by coordinators Professor Narhari from ISC and Professor Thangraj from CCMB. The Genome India project also signifies the department's commitment of data sharing, as all the data generated in the project is being stored in the Indian Biological Data Center set up by this department at NCR Biotech Cluster, Faridabad. I thank you, Genome India team and IBDC team, for all your efforts and my hearty welcome to you all. I welcome all the directors and scientists of DBT institutes, officials from BIRAC, and all my colleagues from the department, and all who have gathered here and have joined online to witness this scientifically fulfilling occasion. Thank you all.
Thank you, ma'am. The Department of Biotechnology, Ministry of Science and Technology, Government of India is proud to have implemented Genome India, an ambitious project in service of nation. We hope Genome India will place India on the world map of genome research and enable India to take a big leap towards precision medicine. May I now request National Joint Coordinators of Genome India, Professor Y. Narahari from ISC Bangalore and Professor K. Thangaraj from CCMB, Hyderabad, to take us through the journey of the program and its significance for Swasth Bharat.
Honorable Minister of Science and Technology, respected Secretary, Department of Biotechnology, Dr. Chuchita Dinave, Advisor, my colleague, Dr. Narahari, all the DBT officials, DBT directors, colleagues from NII, and team Genome India. Very good afternoon to all of you. It is indeed my pleasure to present very briefly about the background and achievement of Genome India. Let me begin, then Professor Narahari will continue that. So why Genome India is very important? So because of the diversity which we have in India, the Indian populations have been very well stratified into 4,635 anthropologically well-defined population groups. And one can ask question that what is the reason for such a huge human diversity? And one will realize that India has one of the oldest population in the world after Africa, the Anomalis, who migrated to India about 65,000 years back. Subsequently, there are several migrations until last few thousand years. And people have admixed, and people have in the remote place, they remain there, that particular place. Therefore, there has been a long practice of endogamy in Indian subcontinent. In addition to that, we have different environmental conditions. We have very high altitude and different environment, including the environment where there's a malarial prevalent. Therefore, there are mutations which population who are living in the adverse environment, for example, those who are living in high altitude, they have to adapt to that environment. Therefore, there are several mutations. Therefore, all of this makes India as very, very unique country in terms of genetics. Then why to study the genome? Most of us understand that genomes involve in everything, right from our behavior, the way we look like, the way we digest the food, digest the drug, of course, genetic disease, and so on. Therefore, it's very, very important for us to study the genome. To talk about genome, very simply, we can say that it's a genetic information in the cell. But interestingly, what Francis Collins was part of the human genome said is that the genome is a shop manual with an incredibly detailed blueprint for building every human cell. The next two are very important. It's a history book, a narrative of the journey of our species through time. The third one is even more important in terms of public interest. Genome is a transformative textbook of medicine with insights that will give healthcare providers new powers to treat, prevent, and cure the disease. So that is what is very, very important when you talk about the genome. Although several countries, including there are small countries, have started the genome sequencing, until very recently, there was no opportunity for us to sequence the genome. One can also ask question whether whatever the genome is available elsewhere can be used in Indian subcontinent, but they are not relevant to India. I'll give you a couple of examples. One is if you look at this map, where there's a mutation in a gene called myosin binding protein C3. That mutation, if exists in a homozygous condition, the individual die at very, very early age because of sudden cardiac arrest. If the mutation exists in heterozygous condition, the individual will be absolutely fine up to the age of 40 or 45. Then it leads to cardiac arrest. Although there are several other genes are known to cause the cardiac arrest, particularly cardiomyopathy, but this particular mutation is prevalent, 4.5% in Indian subcontinent, but it's not there in other part of the world. If somebody take a genome of elsewhere, Europe or any other country, and try to make use of that information to find out what is the cause for cardiomyopathy or cardiac disease in India, but we're never able to find because it's Indian specific. Therefore, it's important for us to have our own genome. Not only this, one can ask whether we have representative individual which can talk about entire Indian population or not, but it's not true again. But look at this disease called junctional epidermolysis bullosa. If you go to a particular population in southern part of India, near Madurai, it's highly prevalent, 4%. But look at this numbers database, either in India or globally, whatever the data available, looked at 8,62,000 individual genome, represent, if you look at the chromosome, 17 lakh something. But it's found only in 2 individuals, the 2 South Asian. Again, in India, if you look at, you cannot generalize. Therefore, every population is very, very important. It's a population specific mutation. The 10,000 number is such a small when you talk about 1.4 billion people. Therefore, I'm sure in the future we would be able to do, I'm sure DBT would support for more number of genome. In that context, very, very essential for this diverse population to have large number of genome representing Indian population. So in that context, I'm really thankful to Department of Biotechnology for funding this program. And the outcome of this, one can imagine what would this genome sequence would give us in future. Of course, we can understand the population history. We can also understand the adaptation and natural selection and so on. But to a common people, this will help us in understanding or identifying the genetic cause for various disease, including rare and common disease. One can estimate the frequency of deleterious mutations, some of this which I have shown earlier. Can also help us in improve the diagnostic method in terms of time, in terms of cost, and provide appropriate counseling, not only prenatal counseling, and also one can do premarital counseling so that we can avoid such mutation passing on to the next generation. One can detect this at very, very early age, particularly because I've been discussing with some of my collaborators, particularly those who are expert in cardiomyopathy. Because the cardiomyopathy symptom appears after certain point of the age, like 10 years, 12 years, or 15 years. But if you detect the mutation which is present in the individual, we can start the treatment. Therefore, we can delay the phenotype, right, for 10, 15 years. That itself is sufficient for the individual to have a healthy life. One can develop a personalized medicine or customized medicine. For example, there's a population called Vaishya in Andhra Pradesh and Telangana. They have pseudocholinesterase deficiency. The common anesthesia is given to them. They will remain with the common anesthetic effect for very long time. Therefore, it leads to paralysis. So in those cases, we can avoid the common anesthesia. And this means the practice that one can give combination of different anesthesia. Of course, gene therapy, you can edit the mutations and do the gene therapy. and understanding the genetic basis of the human infectious disease. We all know when COVID, due to the mutation in certain genes, or some genes which we inherited from Neanderthals, makes more susceptible for COVID, the study. Therefore, it has very, very wide range of application, particularly to the common people. So I stop here. I invite my colleague, Professor Naragari, to continue this. He will tell what we have achieved so far in this project. Can use this.
Very warm greetings and my humble namaskar to the Minister of Science and Technology. Very warm greetings to Professor Rajesh Gokhale, Secretary DBT. Warm greetings to Dr. Suchita, who is the advisor at DBT. And greetings to all of you. Professor Tangaraj has set the right context for the Genome India project. I will take you through the exciting journey that the Genome India project has gone through in the last 5 or 6 years. The conceptualization of the Genome India project was way back in 2018. And during 2 years of intense consultations and intense discussions among multiple institutions under the leadership of Professor Vijayalakshmi Ravindranath, the project was funded in a visionary way by the Department of Biotechnology in January 2020. So this picture actually depicts one of the several meetings that this group of scientists in India had during those 2 years. Genome India is an excellent example of collaboration at its best. There are 20 institutions cutting across the length and breadth of India which have come together in this project. This picture tells us about the 20 centers. The centers are of 3 types: sample collection centers, method development centers, and centers which do sample collection and also sequencing and also analysis. So there are 3 clusters of these centers, and these 20 centers have come together since January 2020. This is the team Genome India. We have had several meetings among the principal investigators and co-investigators of Genome India. The last such meeting happened in CCMB on 21st December 2023. So you can see that this journey started in January 2020, and it has progressed through the COVID period. And this particular initiative actually has survived the onslaught of 3 successive COVIDs. When the first COVID happened, the sample collection was about to start. And then when the sample collection had started progressing, the second COVID hit and everything came to a standstill. And then the third COVID also affected the project in some way. But despite the COVID pandemic, I think this project has made very impressive progress. This tells you about Genome India in numbers. As already I said, 20 collaborating institutions and 44 dedicated principal investigators and co-investigators. Number of samples collected exceeds 20,000 samples, over 99 ethnic groups in India. This is really an achievement, because some of the populations from which the samples have been collected, they happen to be in the remotest parts of India, very difficult to reach, tribal populations, isolated communities. I think the Team India actually has worked tirelessly to go to all these locations and collect these 20,000 samples. And then of these 20,000 samples, 10,000 samples were selected for whole genome sequencing. And the sequencing of more than 10,000 genomes has already been completed at the 4 sequencing centers. Now, one of the very important aspects of this project is the archival of data at the Indian Biological Data Center. And as we speak today, more than 8,000 of these documents, of these files, every single whole genome sequence document is about 80 gigabytes. So 80 multiplied by 10,000 is coming to about 8 petabytes of storage. And all of this is going to be archived at the Indian Biological Data Center. A few months back, data analysis was carried out on 5,750 samples. And it's already giving a shape of the things which are going to come. First of all, we had novel insights into population history in terms of large number of population-specific variants which were discovered in these 5,750 samples. Secondly, a huge number of common and rare variants. In fact, more than 135 million genetic variations in a call set of 5,750 samples. That shows the uniqueness of the Indian genome. Then discovery of disease indicating variants. There are many variants which are indicative of diseases which are very common in India. Those are listed there. And then discovery of variants which indicate resistance. For example, resistance against anticoagulant, antiretroviral, and antiviral drugs. And finally, unprecedented power of imputation, using which you can actually obtain missing data very effectively using Genome India data as the reference. So developing a reference database, genome database, is going to be extremely important in the Indian context. So joint genotyping of 10,000 samples, which is now being taken up in the next few weeks and next few months, will lead to discovery of many more insights and leads to many clinical interventions. So what will be the outcomes and impact of the Genome India initiative? First of all, a reference genetic database for Indian population and a comprehensive catalog of genetic variations in the Indian population. This would be the first deliverable of the Genome India project. Secondly, genome-wide and disease-specific chips and arrays, which could be used for low-cost diagnosis and research in the Indian context. That would be the second deliverable. Third, and very important, digital public goods. The sequencing data of 10,000 samples, which I said is about 8 petabytes, is archived at IBDC. And in a very timely way, all of these digital public goods will be accessible to researchers and the public if they would like to use this data. Fourth, a flagship paper is being written. This is for the global audience. And this flagship paper is going to bring out the highlights of the uniqueness of the Indian genome and also the variants and the variations which are present in the Indian genome. 16 working groups have been formed, and these 16 working groups will be working on different aspects of the data that has been collected. Number 5, leads for clinical interventions, which is the most important outcome of this project, including customized and personalized medicine. And finally, a biobank of 20,000 blood samples at the Center for Brain Research, which could be used for future research. So in summary, I think the Genome India initiative, so well championed by the Department of Biotechnology, can be described as a fascinating scientific expedition of the Indian genome architecture, which has not been attempted before. And it's going to be a tremendous inspiration for India's young minds to take up genomics research. So in this very important endeavor, the Genome India project has taken the help and support and encouragement of so many valuable people. First and foremost, we would like to profusely thank our Honorable Minister of Science and Technology with a wide applause for the tremendous support that has been provided to science and technology initiatives in the country. Secondly, many thanks to the Principal Scientific Advisor to the Government of India, Professor Ajay Sood. And many thanks to our own Professor Rajesh Gokhale, Secretary, Department of Biotechnology, for constant support throughout the duration of this project. And one thing he has been telling us through and through is please ensure that digital public goods becomes available as early as possible. And in a very timely manner, we are definitely going to make it available. Many thanks to the members of the Technical Monitoring and Assessment Committee, TMAC. Professor G. Padmanabhan was the chair of the first TMAC. Then that was followed by Professor MRS Rao, who unfortunately we lost him a few months back. And Professor Partha Majumdar, who is currently the chair of the TMAC. So a wide applause to the members of the Technical Monitoring and Assessment Committee who have helped us. We must thank Dr. Suchita Ninave, who has been a rock solid support for this Genome India project. A wide applause for Dr. Suchita. And then I must thank these four people without which the Genome India project would not have happened. Starting with Omkar Tiwari, Dr. Amit Tripathi, Dr. Kakoli Dasgupta, and Dr. Richi Mahajan. Whoever is around here, I would like them to stand up, please. Okay. Thank you very much for the wonderful support that you have given for this project. And then many thanks from the Genome India team for the wonderful opportunity to serve the nation. We must thank the Department of Biotechnology, the Ministry of Science and Technology, and the Government of India for providing this wonderful opportunity to 20 institutions and 44 investigators and more than 100 scientists who have actually worked on this wonderful project. So thank you very much. Genome India thanks all of you. And thanks to all of you for coming over here and then, complimenting whatever efforts we have done here. So I would like all the Genome India team to stand up so that we can compliment them also. I would like all the Genome India team, the principal investigator, to stand up. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Narahari and Dr. Thangaraj, for a crisp snapshot of this ambitious initiative. Unity in diversity has been the essence of our nation, and characterizing this diversity at the genomic level has definitely led us one step closer to personalized medicine for every individual of this country. Thank you. Moving on, we now have a short video on Genome India.
1.43 billion people comprises more than 4,600 ethnic groups that harbor a large number of genetic variations. Indian population originated from a few founding groups. These groups share some genetic similarities as well as exhibit distinct variations. The Indian genetic variations are not well represented in global databases. This important gap is being filled by the Genome India project, funded by the Department of Biotechnology. A team of scientists from 20 institutions have collected blood samples from 20,000 individuals representing 99 diverse populations and performed whole genome sequencing of 10,000 individuals to catalog the genetic variations.
By decoding over 10,000 genomes,
The Genome India initiative has created a national wealth of biological data that will be useful for embarking on next level basic research as well as targeted clinical interventions specific to Indian population.
The Genome India project was initiated in January 2020 under the leadership of Professor Vijay Lakshmi Ravindranath.
India is a country with extraordinary human diversity due to practice of endogamy, resulting large number of genetic variations which are responsible for genetic diseases, infectious diseases, and also response to drugs. Therefore, sequencing of 10,000 individuals representing different linguistic and ethnic groups are the way forward for our understanding and enhancing predictive and preventive medicine in the country.
The digital data thus generated will be precious national resource for scientific and medical communities.
The Genome India project is all set to produce many phenomenal outcomes. First, there will be digital public goods in the form of sequencing data of 10,000 samples. Secondly, there will be a flagship paper for the global audience highlighting India-specific unique aspects. Last but not the least, it will be a terrific inspiration for the young minds of India to take up research and innovation in genomics for a healthier India.
DNA is made up of 4 nucleotides: adenine, thymine, guanine, and cytosine. Human genome comprises 3 billion nucleotide pairs. The whole genome sequencing is a technique by which we can know the order in which each nucleotide is arranged in the entire genome. The Genome India project will create a reference genome for Indian population.
The Genome India program of Department of Biotechnology is an exciting opportunity for us to decipher the genetic background of our country resources. This will provide in future an opportunity to develop specific drugs, targeted therapies, genome-based solutions, and the future gene therapy programs that will help variety of complex diseases that are prevailing in our country.
4 institutes that have collected the samples and performed the whole genome sequencing are CBR, CCMB, IGIB, and NIBMG. 9 other institutions which collected the blood samples include SKIMS, AIMS Jodhpur, GBRC, ICER Pune, NIMHANS, RGCB, ILS, Mizoram University, and IBSD. 7 institutions which are developing new methods include IIT Delhi, IIIT Allahabad, IIT Jodhpur, CDFD, IISC, NCBS, and IIT Madras.
Genome India is a unique study of its own kind because it takes into consideration the diversity of Indian population and creates a compendium of genetic variations of the Indian population. The project lays the foundation of Genomic Hub and an opportunity for India to enter the emerging field of personalized medicine.
The rich genetic data generated by the Genome India project will soon be a digital public goods that is being archived at IBDC.
There's a pressing need to find Indian solutions to Indian problems. More so as India emerges as a frontline nation in the community of scientifically advanced nations. And therefore, ladies and gentlemen, Genome India is a flagship initiative for cataloging the unique genetic variations of the Indian population. And the visionary funding by the Department of Biotechnology, the DBT, and the dedicated involvement of 20 odd institutions has resulted in this remarkable success of the Genome India project, and I'm proud of the dedicated team of scientists in Genome India Consortium, and I also want to congratulate them for their efforts. This is indeed a watershed moment for India that will usher in genetic-based medicine for various diseases, various ailment conditions in the Indian population, and at the same time also prove to be a big boost for the public health efforts in India.
As the scientific and clinical communities eagerly await the insights, outcomes, and digital data, Genome India stands tall as a beacon of India's commitment to deep science by advancing genetic research for the benefit of every citizen of our nation. Genome India, genomics at its best for a healthy India.
Dr. Rajesh S. Gokhale, Secretary DBT, to address the gathering.
Chief guest of today's Genome India program, Honorable Minister of State with Independent Charge, Ministry of Science and Technology, Dr. Jitendra Singh ji. Our coordinators of Genome India program, Professor Y. Narhari from IISc Bangalore and Professor Tangraj from CCMB Hyderabad, advisor of Department of Biotechnology, Dr. Suchita Nenave, other principal investigators of Genome India and team members, which are probably many of them are online as well, actually. Thank you all for joining today. All my colleagues from Department of Biotechnology, BIRAC, directors of our institutions, dignitaries both on and off the dais, and ladies and gentlemen. I think first and foremost, it's my great pleasure to congratulate all the people who have really contributed to this Genome India activity as a wonderful, commendable efforts of teamwork, which is quite unprecedented in Indian history from a perspective of what we have been able to achieve, I think. And I think this ambitious program has been an enormous success despite all the bottlenecks, as you recently heard of COVID, and also some CNA transitions of releasing funds on right times. But I think all of these only undermines that once we come together, we can make a very, very effective team. So all a wonderful, credit to all of you. And I think we should give an applause to each and every member for who have done this work, actually. I think other person whom I really have to thank again, actually, is Dr. Jitendra Singh ji, actually. He's sandwiched between various back and forth travels. He's been able to find times as and when we have requested him. You know, he was in Jammu yesterday, he was in Jammu today. He's here today with us as well, actually. I often wonder, people in Jammu must be thinking that they are there and people in Delhi think that he's here. But I think he's omnipresent, and his presence has been really remarkable for the department of what we've been able to achieve. And I think his constant support and guidance over the years has been such remarkable that with ease that we actually, reach out to him for all the problems and he comes out with very, very important solutions. So thank you very much, sir. This is another celebration under your guidance for taking this country's future progress. I think often there are cynicals who think that, what is 10,000 genome for the country, actually, But I think let's try and understand how this has happened. If you really look at, 2003, when the human genome was announced, it took 13 years, and it took about $3 billion to be able to do that one genome sequence. And, it's only 2 decades hence, what we see today is that less than 1,000 days, because of all the BRICs, and, we have 10,000 genomes ready. And we have now data of $3 trillion alphabets of our life that are going to be put together in one box, as you rightly pointed out, that are going to be of incredible value of this country, actually. This is a great beginning, in my opinion, and this is must, because if you create the initial data, it actually allows us to build the future data on the top of it. If you don't do this, then you continue to slumber around and keep thinking about, what is my baseline? Where are how would I get the baseline mutations? How do I look at what is good, what is bad? And I think that's where this has become of such an incredible value. So I think this has been a remarkable journey for all the PIs. And I'm pretty much sure that all of you must have enjoyed this tremendous amount of collaborative power of science, what is transformative nature of SNT that can bring enormous amount of it can overcome enormous amount of challenges that are very critical for important for the country's business. I think you all know that our country faces rather complex and unique health challenges, including the high burden of communicable as well as non-communicable diseases, actually. Now, many of these diseases manifest because of predispositions that are present in individual genomes. And therefore, the 10,000 is just a kind of beginning for understanding this really complex parameters that we are all starting to look at. However, as wonderfully presented by both Tangraj and Professor Narhari, actually, I think this provides us an effective way for a future personalized healthcare interventions and tailored genetic makeup of Indian individuals. Again, I think we should emphasize the fact that these large-scale genomes programs should work on the robust ethical framework of addressing all ethical considerations, because there is a hidden treasure, but there is a hidden privacy content as well that is associated with various complex issues and challenges. And I think we should all as a country learn how to use responsibly the genetic data for the future of our best of our country. The Department of Biotechnology has been constantly striving for excellence in data-driven health innovations, and we look forward to achieving greater milestones with our Genome India programs and various other programs of similar kinds to be able to look at future. I think let's continue to draw meaningful inferences from this data, whatever we have collected from Indian genome references, and make our nation brighter for bigger and brighter by developing new technologies around it. I thank again all of you for coming over here today. And again, thank you, Honorable Minister, for it. But I think it's a big, gigantic step. And these big steps, sometimes you recollect after a decade that how one small, big step that was taken earlier have transformed the whole nation's perspective. This is indeed the moment, actually. And I thank you again all for coming and being here today. Thank you very much. Namaskar.
Thank you, sir, for your guiding words and so aptly mentioning the importance of data and data-driven research, simultaneously paying attention to the ethics involved in it. Moving on, I humbly request Honorable Minister Dr. Jitendra Singh Ji for announcement of completion of sequencing of 10,000 genomes of Indian population.
Genome India is the Department of Biotechnology's initiative for cataloging genetic variations of Indian populations. 20 institutions have collected samples from 20,000 individuals belonging to 99 diverse populations of India and performed whole genome sequencing of 10,000 individuals. Congratulations to India for enabling genomic medicine. Genome India.
May I again request Honorable Minister Dr. Jitendra Singh Ji for release of Genome India Digest. May I also request Dr. Debashish Mohanty, Co-Chair TMAC, and Dr. Richi V. Mahajan to join the dignitaries on dais, please. I request Honorable Minister Dr. Jitendra Singh Ji for release of DBT Coffee Table Book, Biotechnology in Focus, Innovating for India's Progress. May I also request Dr. Sanjay Mishra, Scientist H, DBT, to kindly join the dignitaries on dais. थैंक यू सर। अब मैं हमारे मुख्य अतिथि माननीय मंत्री महोदय डॉक्टर जितेंद्र सिंह जी से विनम्र अनुरोध करती हूं कि जिनोम इंडिया के सफलतापूर्व कार्यान्वयन के उपलक्ष्य पर उत्साहवर्धन के लिए सभा को संबोधित कर कृतार्थ करें।
Thanks. Suddenly she's shifted over to chaste Hindi. I don't know what that means. So what is expected of me? But I think I can communicate in the language that all of us understand, both English and Hindi. So let's let the show go on as it has been going. Seated on the dais, Secretary Dr. Rajesh Gokhale, Dr. Ninave, Professor Thangraj, Professor Narahari, all the colleagues and friends in the Department of Biotechnology, the faculty members. I think it's of course, as Rajesh was rightly saying, it's an occasion to celebrate. And in the last few years, with the kind of liberal support that we have received from Prime Minister Narendra Modi, we have had a series of successes as far as different streams of science is concerned, a series of occasions to celebrate. And incidentally, today, while we are celebrating this morning we celebrated the bestowing of the wings on the potential astronauts who will be joining the Gaganyaan next year. Three of them, the group captains. The group captain Nair, group captain Krishnan, group captain Sangha Angat Pratap, and the fourth one is, of course, a wing commander called Shukla. So I think it's been this singular day when we have two celebrations in two different streams of science. And that itself is a reflection of the kind of milieu that is happening now, right now, from the point of view of scientific research, development, also the kind of enabling atmosphere that we have both for startups and also for taking up new initiatives. Because we never had lack of talent, but possibly we didn't have that kind of prioritization at the level of policy planners, which we enjoy now. Now, as far as biotechnology is concerned, I think since everything these days is measured in the terms of economy, how much money you earn out of it, or how much of money are you able to give to the state exchequer. So I think we should keep repeating to ourselves and keep telling the world that when we started in 2014, it was just about $10 billion bioeconomy. Today it is $130 billion. And it sounds better when you say that the economy has grown 13 times in 10 years. So that's remarkable, because now that means we have also started significantly contributing to the overall economy of the country. And if today India is said to be the fastest growing economy with more than 6% rate in the world, somewhere bioeconomy also has a contribution to make. And along with that, the space economy. So in other words, you can say that the bioeconomy and the space economy are going to spearhead the future economic growth or the growth story of India. So that is heartening for someone like me and those from my generation who've seen this stream of biotechnology and the Department of Biotechnology growing in this country from its infancy times, when it was hardly thought about, when people didn't understand what's it all about. The department also was seen to be, whether consequential or not. Some people thought it was just a handful of those who didn't find themselves adjusted elsewhere. They wanted somewhere else a slot, so they created a department called biotechnology. So many years passed like that. So not much of existence, not much of visibility, not much of contribution to the overall growth of the country. But now we have come of age, and we are now one of the mainstream growth stories of the country. And this has also been possible because for any scientific project to succeed, or for that matter, any other project to succeed, you need to have two bottom line constants. One is consistency. You have to be consistently good. You have to perform every day. You can't rest on the laurels of yesterday. And secondly, you have to create some landmarks. And I think what's happened uh, recently, for which of course Rajesh and team deserve to be complimented, is that we had two very significant landmarks. One is of course the COVID vaccine success story, which gave us recognition across the world and got us to be known as preventive health leaders in the world. Even though till yesterday we were not even considered to be health leaders. So that's a huge, the landmark which has given. So everybody is now asking, what is it all about? What's biotechnology or how did it happen? And second, of course, the Indian Biological Data Center. And therefore, I think, yes, and the consistency is reflected in the fact that we are every day trying to think something new. Whether we go about further with it or not, but we keep thinking. You know, it's like something like a creative writer or a poet every day thinking of a new story. He may be at the end of the day tear off the pages, considering not worth it, but he would always, his urge would not, you know, let him sleep without having done that. So that urge is there, and I'm glad that with Rajesh having taken over, we share this common itch. You know, so that is how the BRIC came into uh, form, because I'm proud that we are one of the first departments in Government of India which succeeded in bringing together almost 14 institutes under a single umbrella, and without any kind of disappointment happening to any of the individual institutes or their functionaries, because they all felt comfortable getting together in a larger joint family. So like bringing in, 14 single families into one larger joint family, which is not an easy task, but it was done so uneventfully that the other ministries actually have also tried to follow how it happened. And now, of course, what we are celebrating today, as has been already said by speaker after speaker, India's diversity requires this. Actually, our diversity and, of course, our heterogeneity is both a blessing and a challenge. We are the largest genetic laboratory of the world, and also the largest medical laboratory. The other day, I had a team of medicos, I think from Germany. They wanted to discuss with me what projects could they undertake and which departments could they seek help. I said, what have you thought about? He said, no, sir, what would be appropriate? What would be possible for us to go ahead? I said, no, it's not for me. You choose the disease and I give you. And that has been there for centuries. India is one country which is blessed with having every disease to experiment on. And even in the earlier times, before independence, we had, when we were a part of the British Empire, we had British pathologists coming all the way to India to do research on Kala Azar, even in the other day I was telling, I was in Chennai, so I was telling the youngsters, because the youngsters might have forgotten. I said, if you go to the General Hospital, Madras, which is the second oldest after Calcutta, just opposite the Central Railway Station, outside the original pathology laboratory, there's a small plaque, which is of course now got faded away. And written on that is, this is the lab where Donovan worked, after whom the Donovan bodies. So we have had that tradition of being able to, so tropical diseases were not found there. Now we have both. We also have the communicable diseases, the metabolic disorders, about which Dr. Narahari was speaking about, the myocardium related disorders, which earlier were not so prevalent. Now we have them in equal measure as the Western countries, and we have variation as compared to. So our patient is different from their patient, because our phenotype is different. So not only within the country we are different, so on the one hand, we are different from others. Our phenotype is different. There are plenty of studies to prove, to show that Indian origin population or diaspora in other countries continues to have the same preponderance for diseases like type 2 diabetes mellitus or early heart attacks, even when they go and settle abroad. after generations. That means there is something to do with the genes, regardless of the environment that they live in. So, like, for example, we have a larger central obesity. We have which is not known in the West. It's interesting. We did a study on that. We compared through a CT scan a group of Europeans and a group of the Oriental, the Asians. And we found the Asians apparently looking lean, thin, had a huge belly. So visceral fat, and visceral fat is said to be a risk factor independent of the overall obesity. Whereas the Westerners look obese, fat, but inside they were less. Now, over the years, over the generations, we have learned to find what is called 6-yard sari to camouflage it, a knee-down kurta. So all kind of garments are there. We don't realize that we are harboring a disease. That also gets hidden, the risk factor. So what I'm trying to say, I mean, on a serious note, we are different from the West. And even amongst ourselves, we are different because we are racially different from north to south, from east to west, and even to northeast, as was being shown. So we have 40, I think more than 4,000 diverse populations. And that's why some of the diseases have a larger prevalence in south than they have in north. For many years, these metabolic disorders like type 2 diabetes mellitus were known to be in South India. And that's why your entire research happened in the then Madras, which was the capital of the south. It hardly occupied attention of the researchers in the north. So, and now that we are moving into a global stage, applying global strategies, also trying to integrate with the other streams or systems of medicine, both the oriental systems, as was done during the COVID times, the Ayush plus the allopathy, and the others also trying to learn from us. So we have, in fact, assumed a larger responsibility of creating strategies and guidelines for others to follow, because that's what they are now looking up to us. And for that, I think since genome studies are going to determine the future health strategies across the world. And that is going to be more critical to India because of all these reasons that we have been discussing about its heterogeneity, its racial variations. And therefore, this reference genome of Indian population is one huge step, a pool of sequencing, as Dr. Rajesh was rightly mentioning. When you say a cricketer has hit 10,000 runs, he becomes a celebrity. But when you say this team has sequenced 10,000 genomes, nobody understands what it is. But believe you me, because I've been in clinical practice, once they fall sick, they'll remember. Then you start telling him, they'll say, sir, none of in my family had. I have this cirrhosis. I never drank a drop of alcohol. None in my family has. And then why did I have that? I said, did I ask you not to drink? So then said, then why? Maybe then something. The answer is in the genomes. And then suddenly the gentleman, because having dealt with, a couple of hundreds patients every day, so these things happen. So then he says, so what is that genome? And suddenly he looked for a book. So ironically, this area of experts is celebrated when the person is in adversity, unlike cricket. But how crucial and how critical you are for the well-being of the individuals, that is very important. And along with that, I was seeing there in that booklet, 20,000 blood samples as a biobank is a huge research data. And as was being rightly said, we need Indian solutions for Indian data and Indian treatment for Indian patients. We cannot actually, because their requirement is different and their constraints are different. And therefore, I think a very great headway has been made. The importance of this may not be realized now, but as more and more of the clinical organizations also get associated with us, the hospitals also get associated with us, as we have more and more of clinical trials, they'll begin to understand the relevance of it. It might take several years to evolve, actually. Because this is something which takes very long, takes time. I mean, it doesn't happen overnight, even to move to the next generation. But this is what is going to be the future. And as I said, the genome sequences and genome studies will be crucial to the future health strategies, both prophylactically as well as therapeutically. So when we, on the one hand, we learned how to correct through genetic modes some of the existing disorders. On the other hand, we would be able to understand how to prevent certain disorders, which we've already started doing also. Only the other day I referred to Dr. Rajesh, a study that is being undertaken by Lady Harding of the primordial, trying to bring down the first trimester blood glucose even below 90. So it's a very challenging job. I was telling that lady, because you're going to have a lot of problems, because ethical problems as well. Because that is the time I was telling him, the first trimester pregnancy has a lot of nausea and distaste, and the ladies don't eat regularly, and so they may have hypoglycemia. But unless we are able to strategize that, maybe that will be next step to prevent. So we are now targeting both the levels. And for that, I think what the Department of Biotechnology has done today is going to be a resource pool for whole of the country. And this is going to be a very important contribution for research specifically and for the mankind in general. And since we are catering to almost the entire Southeast Asia and subcontinents, it's going to serve a larger purpose than what it appears today. Unfortunately, we don't make news in the media because that doesn't sound very fancy. Unless somebody says that while doing a genetic study, the gene hit the man, then somebody will come asking you, how did you feel, Rajesh, when you were slapped by a gene? So unfortunately, that doesn't happen. But if we keep talking about it, that's why he said, please keep talking about it. What's it? We talk about DNA. No, DNA has become a household name because you use it in different ways. Arey sahab, iske to DNA mein hi aisa hai. So it will become like that. But when you tell him, no, this is also part of that. The DNA in a cell is called genome. Like that, if you keep talking, maybe tomorrow it becomes a part of the regular colloquial. Arey bhai, iska gene hi kharab hai. So then, you'll be able to popularize it. So you'll have to also devise means of how to share it with the public, because they are our stakeholders. Tomorrow we will need a huge amount of funding from the industry, from the philanthropists. So that is how we will be able to motivate them once we make them realize that they have an equal stake. It's not only a purely exclusively R&D domain. So I'm sure we have taken a lead, which is going to be a pioneering lead, and we will make headway as we move on. And one day, as he said, it takes many years, but maybe many years later, when they look back, they look at this team as the pioneering team who did this, at least in this part of the world. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your encouraging remarks. These are bound to induce us to work more diligently towards the greater good of the country. Your guidance and leadership are set to propel department to reach new heights. May I now invite Dr. Richi V. Mahajan for vote of thanks.
Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Department of Biotechnology, I express my earnest gratefulness to Dr. Jiten Singh Ji, Minister of State, Independent Charge of Ministry of Science and Technology, Minister of State for Prime Minister's Office, Personal, Public Grievance and Pensions, Department of Atomic Energy, and Department of Space, who despite his travel schedules and busy routines, graced the event with his auspicious presence. So your inspiring words have always been motivating us to set the new examples of brilliance in research and innovation ecosystem. I would also like to thank Dr. Rajesh S. Gokhale, Secretary DBT, whose strong support and encouragement has been pivotal for the success of the Genome India program and other DBT endeavors. So we assure you that under your able guidance, we'll be achieving many such frontiers of success. My heartfelt gratitude to Dr. Suchita Ninave, Scientist G and Advisor DBT, who has been crucial to the Genome India program. We all know that you have led from the front to make this program a great success, and your continued support will be paramount for driving the future programs as well. Due acclamation is extended to Professor Narahari and Professor Thangaraj, Joint Coordinators of Genome India, Joint National Coordinators of Genome India, and all 44 scientists from 20 national institutes who are primary contributors in this massive project on scientific front. Thank you to all the members for joining us on the event. The determined effort and coordination of DBT officials ensuring the smooth implementation of Genome India from its inception in 2020 is creditable. Special acknowledgement is extended to Dr. Omkarnath Tiwari, Dr. Kakalide Dasgupta, and Dr. Amit Tripathi for their contributions. I would also like to thank Dr. Devashish Mohanty, Director NII, and Dr. DK Vishesh, Senior Manager NII, for their generous efforts and logistic support for the event. I'd like to place on record the appreciation to the members of the press for presence and providing us the coverage of the event. I would also like to place on record the thanks to senior officials of Ministry of Science and Technology, Department of Biotechnology, directors of iBric Institution, RCB and ICGB, officials from BIRAX, and my colleagues from the department and iBric institutions who have joined us online, and everyone present here for the event. Thank you, everyone. May I request Genome India team to please come on the stage for a group photo. Ladies and gentlemen, tea has been organized in the garden area. Thank you.